What's goody? Hey man, so we need to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers, but not just the Philadelphia 76ers. We need to talk about their new addition this year in Butt Brother Paul frickin' George, Podcast P, man. Paul George this season, in the offseason, he signed a 4-year max deal with the 76ers, if I'm not mistaken, right? In this season, Paul George is averaging 16 points, okay, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. He's played 35 games, okay? His shooting splits are 42, 36, and 82. Okay. The 76ers currently sit as the 11 seed. They have played 54 games. So, they played 54 games. Paul George has missed 19 of them. Okay, cool, whatever. The other night, they played against the Toronto Raptors. And as you know, as all of you know, they played against the Brooklyn Nets. I'm sorry, we're going to talk about the Toronto Raptors in a second, but they played against the Brooklyn Nets the night after. Against the Toronto Raptors, so this is a back-to-back, right? They played against Toronto in Philly, and then they played against Brooklyn in Brooklyn on back-to-back nights. Against Toronto, they took a 103-106 loss. Again, the Toronto Raptors are absolutely butt juice. Now, I'm loving the vibes on this team with Brandon Ingram there, everything. Brandon Ingram looks happy. He looks like he's enjoying playing basketball again in the Raptors. I like that we got him. And everything like that, and it's just one of those things where, like, this could be a fun rest of the year for the Raptors, right? So, the Raptors aren't, like, the worst team in the league, but against the Raptors, you probably should win, especially when you're a team like Philly, who's just outside the play-in, and you really, really, really need to get into the play-in at the very minimum if you're Philly, right? In that game, Paul George went 5 of 12 from the field, 41%, not great. 2 of 6 from 3, 33%, not great. He went 2 of 2 from the line, so he's barely getting to the line. In fact, in his last 5 games, he has 5 free throw attempts. He's 4 for 5, not great. He scored 14 points. He had 4 fouls, 2 turnovers, 2 steals, 2 assists, and 3 rebounds. The man had more fouls than rebounds. Pierre, do not break my blinds, because I'll break your ass. Pause. Anyways, that is what Paul George did against the Toronto Raptors, and you're thinking, you know what, he had a pretty bad game, but that's not too much worse than his averages. I mean, he's just having a bad season, right? Then we go to the next night versus the Brooklyn Nets, and this man, Paul George, went out there and played 37 minutes, 1 more minute than he played the night before. He made 1 shot, wasn't aggressive at all because he only took 7 shots. Keep in mind, in the Toronto loss, him, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, all healthy, all played, and Joel Embiid, they had a chance to win that game. It was 105-103. This boy, Joel Embiid, has a wide open 3, looks at the rim, weak ass pump fake, and then goes and turns the ball over, dribbling down into the paint where he didn't even get a shot up. He turned the ball over. They end up losing the game, right? I remember it vividly, right? Okay. Versus Brooklyn. This man, Paul George, put up 7 shots. That's it. 7 freaking shots. The man had 6 rebounds, 4 assists. So you're thinking, okay, the other stats went up. He had 2 steals. So you're like, okay, in the 2 games, he had 4 steals. The man even had 3 blocks. I'm not mad at him at all. 3 turnovers and 2 personal fouls. Not a terrible game, you're thinking right now. Until you look, and this man went 1 for 7, 0 for 5 from 3, and scored a whopping 2 points. Didn't get to the free throw line. The man didn't get to the free throw line once. He made 1 shot. The man played 37 minutes as making a max contract, 37 minutes against the fucking Brooklyn Nets, and scored 2 points. Old school. He scored 2 points than me and you he scored 2 more points than me and you combined. Remember when I was talking about Paul George's averages? Well, the guy in Philly that he came to replace, Tobias Harris, is a man that is so hated in Philly because he basically robbed the team of money. You know, the whole Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris over me. In Detroit this year, this man is averaging 13.5, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 46% from the field, 33% from 3, 87% from the line. Let me read Paul George's stats again. So remember, Tobias Harris is 14, I'm going to round up for both of them, 14, 6, and 2 on 46, 33, 87 splits, okay? Paul George is 16, 5, and 4 with 43%, 36%, and 82%. The niggas are having damn near the exact same season, except this man, Paul George, is a 9-time All-Star and is playing on a maximum contract right now. The man that you are coming to replace, you're doing the exact same thing that he did to Philly. You're going there and you're stealing money. And then the night after that Brooklyn Nets game, or the day after that Brooklyn Nets game, a report comes out. Paul George has been needing injections in his knee just to play, something that mostly happens during Something that mostly happens when these players are in the playoffs, but it's happening to him in the regular season. Super concerning. Don't care. I don't want to hear nothing about them injections, nothing about none of that, because I saw Paul George sprain his finger on his non-shooting hand and leave the game for the rest of the day. So I don't want to hear nothing about those injections, because we're not about to sit here and pretend like Paul George is this tough guy when I don't know if this is still true, but based on the games he's been playing recently, it's probably still true. Podcast P channel on YouTube has uploaded more YouTube short clips than he has made field goals for the Philadelphia 76ers this year. The man has played 35 games. Let's just see how many. I just want to see something real quick. How many minutes per game is he playing in the 35 games that he's played? Total. He is averaging 32 minutes per game. So in 32 minutes per game, you are getting 16 points. As a guy that is a max player and was expected to be the third option on a team that was supposed to be a championship contender. Meanwhile, this team is about 15 games below 500 right now. Actually, 14 games below 500 right now, 24 games behind the first seed. You are a game and a half behind the Bulls for the 10 seed. The Bulls are ass. I watched the Bulls put up 29 points in a half against the Detroit Pistons. You're a lower seed than them. I'm not placing all the blame on you, Paul George. I'm not. But when you go and you're talking about, I'm about to be on my bully again, blah, 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 and you're talking about how, the Clippers are the B team and how you felt disrespected by the Clippers offers and everything like that, for you to finally go and you leave and you get your max, or you were saying, you know what, you were cool with the 3 years, 150, but you wanted a no trade clause with it, they wouldn't give you one. Well, after looking at the Bradley Beal situation, why the hell do you think they would give you one? Because I just watched the same thing. I just watched something similar happen to a guy like Bradley Beal, and Bradley Beal was coming off of a phenomenal season when he got that contract that he got, and he got that no trade clause that he got. Paul George was coming off of his best season as a Clipper in a contract year, which is not a coincidence by any means, if you ask me. And he did the exact same thing. He was trying to put them in the exact same situation that the Suns are in with the Bradley Beal thing right now. So if I'm the Clippers, I wouldn't have gave his dumbass a no trade clause either. And for all the people sitting on this podcast, they didn't want to do that. Stop glazing. Stop. I understand Paul George is a very good basketball player. He's probably going to the Hall of Fame, blah, blah, blah. Paul George is a 9-time All-Star. I get all of that. Please do not get me wrong. I understand that. But we have to sit here and look at current day Paul George. What did he do for the Los Angeles Clippers that would make them give him a trade clause when Kawhi freaking Leonard doesn't even have one? Bro had 1 year where he played a significant amount of games where he played well. And you think just off that 1 year in a contract year, they were going to be fooled and say, you know what, we're going to give this man a max, or if not, we're going to give him a no trade clause at the very least. It wasn't going to happen, fam. And now we're at the point now where Paul George is absolutely ruining his legacy, bro. Like, Paul George's legacy is taking a hit more and more every single day. And it's not just because of his play, but it's also because the man keeps running his mouth. If you're going to go and you're going to talk about on these podcasts and you're going to do this, blah, 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 on your podcast, brother, if you're going to talk, you better hoop. If you're going to call the Clippers the B team, you better hoop. Because Norman Powell right now is having just as good of a season as you did last year. Remember when Norman Powell before this season said losing Paul George was addition by subtraction? You can't be mad at him for saying it, because Norman Powell, if you go look at the splits right now today, is having a season that is comparable to the one that man Paul George had last year, and that was his best year as a Clipper. So we're not about to sit here and pretend like what Norman Powell said was in the wrong or whatever. And every single time Paul George goes out there and has one of these stinker games where Bronny James is putting up more points in half the minutes than you put up in 37 minutes. Bronny James put up 9 points. I believe he missed one shot in like 16 minutes or something like that. Might not have even been that many minutes. You played 37, went 1 for 7, and scored 2 points as a max contract player. This is a rookie who's coming off of having a heart attack last year, who missed almost his entire freshman season of basketball because of that heart attack, and who was the 55th pick, who's been playing in the G League for more than half of this year, and you let him go out there and outplay you. Even though it wasn't in the same game, y'all weren't matched up against each other on the same night, he outplayed you. Paul George, if you're gonna play like this, boy, you better get off that damn podcast. I'm so for real. Because if I'm a Philly fan, the only thing that's stopping me from giving Paul George the meanest hate right now is the fact that they just won the Super Bowl. Because if it wasn't for that Super Bowl win, you'd be getting some Ben Simmons type of treatment. You'd be getting worse than Tobias Harris type of treatment. Because there was never the same hype around Tobias Harris that there was about signing you. Even when Tobias Harris, when they paid him all that money, which they shouldn't have done, they should have gave it to Jimmy Butler, whatever you want to say, I get that. Even at that moment, nobody would have ever been more excited for Tobias Harris in that moment than they were for Paul George coming into this year. It was never like that. So you better thank God that the Eagles are saving you right now from getting an immense amount of hate. And you better pray. I don't even know if it would be better for y'all to make the playoffs or not, because if y'all make the playoffs, y'all aren't going to do a damn thing. Paul George is probably going to be asked the same way he's been asked this whole year, the same way he's been asked in the playoffs recently for the last couple years. Last year, I don't think he played a single game for them in the playoffs. After playing 74 games, he was flexing that 74 games, didn't play a damn single game in the playoffs. And then you lost. Anyways, all I'm saying is, man, Paul George, I hate to see this from you because you were such a talented basketball player, and I used to love watching you in Indiana. I used to love watching you in OKC, and I was even a fan of the move when it was you and Kawhi. I thought y'all were going to win a ring together. When that first happened, I was a Raptors fan coming off of a Kawhi championship. I'm thinking, damn, are Kawhi and PG about to do it again? I was thinking, well, not Kawhi and PG, but is Kawhi about to do it again? Is Kawhi about to win back-to-back? Is Kawhi about to get a third ring with a third team and a third finals MVP? And then y'all did nothing but disappoint. And now you're in Philly. And boy, is it looking bad. Hey, man, let me know what y'all think about this, bro. Let me know how y'all feel about the whole Paul George situation, about his podcast and everything like that. Let me know if y'all think I was a little too harsh on him. Let me know if y'all think I didn't go harsh enough. Or let me know if y'all think that I was just accurate with what I said. Let me know what y'all want to see. Also, I want to know what type of videos y'all want me to get out. And also, just please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. It helps me out a lot. And one thing I want to make clear before I end this video off is that I'm not a Paul George hater. In fact, I'm a Paul George fan. I want the man to succeed. But when you're doing this type of dumb stuff, you're making it hard. I can't be biased. If Steph Curry was doing this, and Steph Curry's my favorite player in the league right now, if he was doing this, I'd have to give him some hate. So I can't be biased right now. And man, I hope you turn it around, but dog, at a certain point, we might have to just face the music and be like, you're not a dog like that. Like, you don't have that mentality like that. And it's been clear with the way you've been talking about how I'm only going to try in the All-Star game if the other guys do. And stuff like that. It's just like, man, you out here complaining about, damn, I still got to go play during the All-Star break while like the other dudes that didn't make the All-Star break get a break. Brother, you're making $40-50 million a year. You shouldn't complain about having to play basketball at all. And you talk about, I don't like playing center. Well, I'm bored playing center. My nigga, the Philadelphia 76ers fans are bored of watching you hoop, period. I'm sure they want your ass to just go sit out for the rest of the season. It is because of players like this and players doing stuff like this on big stages that the NBA is eventually going to get to that point of the NFL where these contracts are no longer guaranteed, and we about to see man, I really want that to happen. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not a guy that hates on guys getting their bag. But I think that's really the only way to incentivize certain players caring about the regular season. And if you don't get players to care about the regular season, how are you going to get fans to care about the regular season? So I think we're getting to that point, and I think Paul George is one of the big faces of why we're going to get to that point. Like, Zion's a big face of it, but like at least Zion doesn't talk like Paul George does. You know what I'm saying? At least with Zion, it's just injuries. It's not like when Zion plays, for the most part, he plays phenomenal. He just doesn't play. With Paul George, you don't play, and then when you play, you're ass. So it's like, and then you go home and you talk on your podcast, and you have more podcast views or more podcast upload, more podcast clips uploaded this year than you do field goal makes for the 76ers. And it's bad for you, Paul George. I'm not going to lie to you. So yeah, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And I don't know how this just ended up into a longer rant than it was supposed to be, because I just ended up talking about it again. And I thought of more stuff, but yeah, it's looking bad for Philly. It's looking bad for Paul George. And if I was a Philly fan, like I said, thank God y'all have the Eagles. All right? I'll see y'all later.